Call of Duty is one of the biggest gaming franchises around and has been that way for quite some time now. And while some people aren't very happy with the series as a whole, I'm not sure what they're wanting changed in the next iteration. From what I understand and what I've read, it's likely that the next Call of Duty game will be Ghost 2 to the dismay of many. I personally didn't have that big of an issue with Ghost 1. The campaign was okay, the multiplayer felt different than the other games, and the Extinction mode, while not perfect, was still very different. However, there are definitely some things that the next iteration and the games as a whole could improve upon, so I'm going to talk about what I'd like to see out of the next Call of Duty game. So let's talk about the campaign first, since that's the thing I have the least to say about, and it's something that a lot of people who play Call of Duty don't really even care about. First and foremost, since it is supposedly Ghost 2, we can pretty safely assume that the campaign will pick up where Ghost 1 left off. If you didn't play the campaign of Ghost 1, the campaign ended with Logan, the character you control for most of the game, getting dragged off by Rourke, the main villain of the game, who says that he's going to brainwash Logan into killing off the rest of the Ghosts, which are an elite coalition of all US Special Operations units. Assuming they stick with the tale of the two brothers, the next game will probably see the return of Hesh and Logan, perhaps with the turn of Logan into a villain under Rourke's control. Assuming that they do, we will probably play as Hesh as he's trying to get his brother back into a correct state of mind, and while trying to rid him of Rourke's influence. As for what I'd like to change, Call of Duty is well known for their big action campaigns with tons of things blowing up, but when I initially heard of Ghosts, however, I thought, perhaps foolishly, that this time around, the focus would be more on a stealthier approach to combat, like, ghosts, unseen, but for the most part, that wasn't the case. So for the campaign, instead of having these same set pieces of the main character, who I'm assuming will be Hesh, chasing Rourke and presumably Logan, as they probably just cause mass destruction while they pursue their objectives, if I were picking the campaign, I'd instead stick with playing as Logan. This could provide a different twist on the gameplay, since Rourke's army has to have taken a hit after the last game, and we could play as Logan and Rourke, trying to take out the high-profile ghosts as quietly and efficiently as possible. This would be a more stealthy-based approach to the missions, since it would essentially be two people going against an army. I think this would also be the first time we'd get a main character who's a villain in the series, so that would be pretty interesting as well. Other than that, I'm not sure what I would want out of it. Bring back Riley, your dog companion, if you want. I don't really remember using him that much in the campaign, but it was something different, and leave the space stuff out, please. I remember playing one of those space missions on Veteran, and it made me want to blow my freaking brains out, so I'd rather not do that again. Multiplayer is the biggest draw for most people in any Call of Duty game, and as per the opinions of most, Ghost's multiplayer is a top contender for the worst in the series. There's several different reasons that people think this, including spawns, hit detection, lag, lack of innovation, or just a general dislike for the community in general and its breed of campers. For me, I never really disliked Ghost multiplayer, but I always thought the reason for the community's dislike for the game was due in large part to its map design. Maps in Ghost's multiplayer are, for the most part, very large, and while some players, like me, may like this aspect, many weren't very fond of it. Now, for what I'd like to see out of multiplayer, to be honest, I don't really know, or at least, I don't know what I'd like to see that's actually plausible that they may do. I assume that they will fix some of the things that people disliked in the first Ghosts, like spawns and hit detection. Camping is more of a community problem, however, so I don't see that going away unless they somehow start seriously penalizing players who do it. But I think if they make the map smaller this time around, that will give players less options to camp from. Lack of innovation is also something that I'm not sure how Infinity Ward will address. People complain every year about Call of Duty's lack of innovation, and while I do think this was very true with Ghosts, I can't really think of anything they added that really contributed to the series outside of the dog. People also say that Black Ops 3 had a lack of innovation when that game added so many new things to the series. For me, innovation of the series is kind of a double-edged sword. Stick too close to the formula and you create a rehash, stray too far from it and you run the risk of losing the feel of the rest of the games, so I'm not really sure how they're going to address that. For the next Call of Duty game, however, and the subsequent games that follow in the series, I have my own ideas as to how they should change the games that I think would work very well with their new 3-year model they've adapted for releases with Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer. So my idea that I suggest with each studio is picking a specific time period to work in. By this I mean, for example, Treyarch works with World War II or wars that have already happened in the past, Infinity Ward works with modern warfare or technology that's possible today, and Sledgehammer works with technology that's available in the future, or that they assume will be available in the future. I think this would work well because it would make each studio's game feel more unique in and of itself, instead of every game happening in the future, which is quickly becoming a very tired concept for me. And to be honest, I really just want World War II because that was my favorite game in the series, so I would like to see something like that return. More specifically about multiplayer, there are some things I'd like to see removed or at least changed. First and foremost, the kill streaks. Kill streaks are one of the biggest reasons I think the Call of Duty community is turning into a camper fest. Everyone enjoys getting kill streaks and just dominating the opposing team, but if you have someone sitting in a corner for 10 minutes picking up 1 or 2 kills every minute and then laying down a kill streak like a helicopter, it sort of removes the fun for everyone who's not sitting in the corner and is trying to perform objectives or is looking for people who aren't prone laying with a ghillie suit. However, since Call of Duty has been using extravagant kill streaks since Modern Warfare 2, I do not see them changing this system much if at all here. Second is the removal of the jetpacks, boosters, and the like. This is a feature that offered a change to Call of Duty with Advanced Warfare having enhanced jumping capabilities and Black Ops 3 giving you a jetpack. However, enhanced jumping capabilities is not something that I think should be a staple of the series. This kind of goes back to my suggestion for the 3-year model, but each game needs to feel like its own separate entity, and that's where I think people are getting fatigued on the series since each subsequent game deals with many of the same concepts as the previous. Finally, and I'm pretty sure this is just me, but I want them to bring back meaning to the challenges in the game. I used to do as many challenges in Call of Duty as they gave me, like getting 100 headshots to unlock a new camo for my gun, but in recent releases, challenges have just been a method of earning XP. Back when I had challenges that I wanted to complete in order to achieve something, it gave me more of an incentive to play, and it was more like, okay, well, I'm gonna get off here. Oh wait, one more Harrier kill for that moving emblem? Okay, maybe I'll just play one more game. So, I would like to see them return something like that, but I do find that unlikely. I know in the original Ghosts, they did have challenges that would unlock things like patches, I believe they were, for your player card, which is sort of what I'd like to see, but those were timed, I believe, so you couldn't just work on something, you had to work on specific things at specific times, which I didn't really like. I'd like to see more of a return to like Modern Warfare 2 kinds of things. But that's just me personally. You may not think that way. One of the biggest surprises in Ghosts was the game's Extinction mode, a game type that sought to rival Treyarch's successful Zombies game type. Extinction dealt with aliens as they invaded Earth, but it worked a bit different than Zombies in that it was actually an objective-based mission with an ending. Now personally, I only played the first map that was included in the game and the one included in the first map pack, so my scale of knowledge on this may be lacking. I played quite a bit of the on-disc Extinction map, and from what I can remember, I really enjoyed this game type, but it had one very noticeable flaw, that being that it didn't have the same appeal as Zombies. By that, I mean once you've completed the mission and escaped with your team, there's no real incentive to go back and do it again outside of leveling up. They had these things called relics, which could make the game more difficult, but unless you're a glutton for punishment, finishing the game is difficult enough, especially when you're playing with random people online. For the next game, again assuming that it will be Ghost 2 and will have an Extinction mode, I'd like to see a bit more depth. I enjoyed Extinction mode for what it was, but it didn't give me anything that made me want to play it over and over again. Playthroughs became nearly identical because once something worked, you did the same thing next time. So for me, the biggest thing they could do is make the levels less cut and dry. Like, for example, if you went one way, you'd have more cover, but you'd have stronger enemies to deal with. And if you went the other way, you'd have less enemies, but you'd be walking through a field of trip mines, I don't know. Something that adds the element of player choice into the mix. I liked what they did with classes and leveling, however, so I hope that stays the same, if not very similar, in the next installment. And also, again, I only played the first map given and a small amount of the first DLC, so they could have added more impressive maps and features, but I just didn't get a chance to play them, so take what I've said with a grain of salt in Extinction mode. Alright, so that is pretty much all I have to say on Call of Duty 2016, which will presumably be Ghost 2, expected to come out around November like always. There have also been other rumors flying around that the next Call of Duty game will take place in the very distant future, with space combat being the central focus. For me personally, if that happens, then chances are I won't be very interested in the game, unless they somehow blow my socks off with something, which I find very unlikely since I'm not really a huge space fan in the first place, and the instances in Ghosts where they had you playing as an astronaut weren't very fun in my opinion. So anyways guys, if you have any suggestions as to what you'd like to see in the next COD game, then make sure to leave them in the comment section below. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more, and I hope to see you guys in my next video.